Well, in the past few days when we were speaking on introduction to the Bhagavatam, we were drawing from Srila Bhakti Thakur's book, Notes on the Bhagavad. And being unexperienced in presenting a curriculum and being kind of family, I thought that we would be able to go through that and then use that as a basis for then entering into an overview or of what the Bhagavatam is actually about. But as we got into it, I realized it's so extensive, that book, even though it is an overview, it's very extensive, and there'd be no way to possibly finish it. And thus, some of the points that I thought were really important that people understand about the Bhagavatam will be missed. And so, since I have 2 days more, leaving tomorrow, I'm going to go very quickly over some of the other points. Actually, I'm realizing now that this is actually a whole course. You may be running into that also. That's not enough time. These subject matters are so vast and extensive. It's almost impossible to cover them in the time that we have. Actually, our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, when he introduced that we should do Bhagavatam class every day, he said you do 1 verse per day. And what we would do was that we would recite the verse, somebody would recite it line by line, and everybody would repeat. And then and again, and different people in the audience would also repeat. Even in Srila Prabhupada's presence, there's tapes on that. It was great. Then, after having recited the verse a number of times, we would go through the word for word, what each word means. On a board, usually, if we have the opportunity to have a board. And then the purport would be read, and then some discussion would ensue. And in this way, we estimated that it would take about 10 years to do the entire Bhagavatam. Well, there's 18,000 verses, and you could do only 365 verses in a year. Actually, longer than that, actually. Did they ever finish it?
We always go back to the first canto.
More like 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. Some verses didn't have purports, but
Then that's also Vaikhanas only the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
40 years.
nevertheless, it was a very good way to study the Bhagavatam. And by hearing these word for word every day, some words have become more familiar.
Just to add to that, I remember when we were doing the work with the BBT in 1975 in Los Angeles. And that's when we were doing this 17-book marathon
Right.
to catch up with Prabhupada in 2 months.
Right.
So at that time, we used to come together in the morning, like the devotees who worked on the press, and we were following what Prabhupada told to do. He said every day you should read an entire chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said what you do is you just recite the verses all the way through first, just together, just reading all the Sanskrit verses, and then you come back to the beginning, and then you read all the verses.
English.
Yes, yeah. And then after you've done that, then you have some little idea of an overview of the subject of that chapter. And then after that, then you can study, verse by verse.
Not many people here right now, but just to, it's not really deviating.
Everyone is watching on the TV. I don't.
You on TV?
The whole world is watching on it.
Anyway, Paramatma is watching. So let's get our toes. I don't know if you heard what he said, if you that made a note, when he was mentioning that 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita were put into print in 2 months. That means that Srila Prabhupada gave an order because the BBT was falling behind. BBT was a very sophisticated publishing outlet by then. They had the most advanced computer equipment that you could get, and very trained and expert people. but the staff was somewhat limited. And the equipment in those days, this laptop is more powerful than all of the combined computer stuff. So it took entire staffs, dozens and dozens of people, and they were still cutting and pasting lines and laying out by hand. So there's a great deal of intensive labor. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada, and usually it was taking about a few months, 6 months, to do one volume of a book.
Yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada was becoming very impatient because he wanted these books finished and published. So he then said, I have completed the Chaitanya Charitamrita for some time now. Why haven't you completed it? Because maybe one volume was done or something. And I said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, so many books. He goes, then I want you to complete it in 2 months. 17 volumes.
Actually, it was 15 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita remaining, and 2 volumes of Bhagavatam, 5th canto.
5th canto is so thick.
Yeah.
And the people in charge of the press said, Srila Prabhupada, that's impossible. Well, we've never done a book faster than 3 months, 1 volume.
Well, they said they could do now a book per month.
Right, they could triple it.
With the new equipment.
Right, they could now speed up and said no. And produce impossible. Possible is a word in a fool's dictionary. I want it done. So they went back and they put their heads together and they figured out, well, if we have people working around the clock, 3 shifts, grab every possible person, we do this and this and that. They made a schedule somehow how it could be done. And painters, this whole group of painters in succession, all the different layout people and all the editors and typesetters and everything. And somehow they did it. And they did an impossible task in 2 months. And it was an impossible task, but because they had the empowerment of their guru, they were able to do it. And that is the theme of what we're going to be talking about today, because in the Bhagavatam, it begins after the 3 invocation verses, the Mangalacharana, it begins in the form of Namasharanya. After Maharaj Parikshit has been cursed, after Shukadev Goswami speaks the Bhagavatam to him, the Kali Yuga is continuing to progress. And the sages of Namasharanya are assembled there in order to do a 1,000-year sacrifice. In this way, they were trying to hold off the effects of Kali Yuga. They understood what was coming. But their sacrifice wasn't working. Because Kali Yuga had now begun, the mantras weren't effective, the fire wasn't pure. The only result was that they were getting darkened and blackened and covered by smoke. And nothing was happening. And they were very distressed. What to do. And there were many qualified sages, but as at the time when the Bhagavatam was originally spoken, there were many other sages also who were expert in various branches of the Vedic literature. The Vedic literature is very vast. Many different subject matters and many different conclusions that are drawn from the different statements of the Vedas about the purpose of life, the role of life, and what spiritual realization means. So they were wondering what to do, how are we going to proceed, and then Sutta Goswami came into their midst, into their assembly. And Sutta Goswami, his history goes back further. During the Mahabharata War, Lord Baladev had decided with consultation with Krishna that he would not be there because it was very painful for him to see. By some Leela or other, Baladev had some affection for some of the Kauravas. Duryodhana was his disciple. This is all Leela. And he didn't want to see this war. And he might have come into a little conflict with Krishna. So Krishna was favoring Arjuna and the Pandavas, and he knew that his disciple, Duryodhana, was going to be killed. And so he decided he should leave. And Krishna also decided it would be a good thing if you weren't here. So he went on pilgrimage. And while that pilgrimage was going on, he came to Naimisharanya. And at Naimisharanya, there were about 60,000 sages. Because Naimisharanya is a place of gathering and yajna since the beginning of time. It's a described by Srila Prabhupada in his purports in the Bhagavatam, that when Lord Brahma created the universe, the very center of the universe, like the pivot point of a wheel or a chakra, would be Naimisharanya. And so he was this sage, Ramaharshan Sutta, who had been deputed to preserve all the Puranic knowledge. He was speaking to 60,000 sages about the truth and tattva of the Puranas. And he was on his Vyasa side. And Lord Balaram came. And when Lord Balaram came, all the sages stood up and offered him respects, except Ramaharshan Sutta, because he was bewildered by the material energy, and he was thinking, I am the guru of all these sages and personalities. I'm the greatest here. Baladev is just a Kshatriya, and therefore I should not stand up to him. It would not be appropriate. But who is Baladev? Baladev is he's not different from Krishna himself. He is Adi Guru. He is the guru of all gurus. And for Ramaharshan Sutta not to recognize that means that he was actually qualified. He may have been perfect in his academic knowledge of all the Puranas. He may have had some knowledge, some detachment, but he didn't have sufficient realization. And so he committed offense to Lord Baladev. Lord Baladev, knowing this person is not fit, and the person had made a great offense, walked up to him and taking a straw, a kusa grass, he took it and touched him on the head and killed him. Now all the sages went, oh! You've killed the speaker, our guru. And Baladev said, well, what to do? He said, well, this is not proper to kill the speaker. Now, who will reveal and preserve and teach this knowledge? It's going to be lost. Lord Balaram said, well, I can bring him back to life if you want. No. What you did is appropriate. He was an operator, he was an Italian. Well, then, what to do? And then Baladev said, well, I can do this then. His son, the son is like the father. In one way, the son is considered non-different from the father. And so they called Sutta, the little boy. He was only 5 years old. And he came forth and he stood very respectfully and honorably. Even though Baladev, Lord Balaram, had killed his father, this boy had realization. And so he had no anger or regret. And so Lord Balaram touched him on the head and immediately imbued him with all Vedic knowledge. Everything his father had known and more, Lord Baladev imparted to this Sutta. Later, and he became the guru, and he began the speaker and preserving the Vedic knowledge to this group of sages, even though he's only 5. Later, after the Mahabharata war, and after Parikshit Maharaj had ascended to the throne, and then was cursed, and was hearing the Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami was also there, very, very close. And he heard everything from Shukadeva Goswami, and thus he considered him his guru. After the speaking of Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, then when Parikshit Maharaj spoke to his mother Uttara, he was also there, hearing what we know as Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He was also there for that. So he was most qualified. And so when the sages were doing this yajna, then Sutta Goswami comes, and then they're, oh, at last. So, when we study the Bhagavatam, we have to know how to study it. We have to know who is the proper speaker and how to be a proper student. And the way in which the sages of Naimisharanya greeted and acknowledged Sutta Goswami and his response to them in the first and second chapters are a key or guideline to us about the guru-disciple relationship. The Bhagavatam cannot proceed without this foundation of guru and disciple. And then mixed in with this that I'm going to get to later, are then the 6 questions that the sages asked to Sutta Goswami, which form his answers to that will be the substance of the entire Bhagavatam. So we're going to start with the questions of the sages, how they're addressing Sutta Goswami, and his response to them. There's a number of verses, and I'm going to read them Huh? Well, if I pass it out, I can't read it.
He only has 1 copy of it.
I got one. Well, this is a whole bunch of other stuff.
About 100 pages.
See, this is all going to be the class, so just it's kind of like when you go to a feast, and there's a big feast, and you got a big plate, and you take each preparation, and you take as much of that one as you can possibly eat. But then by the time you got your plate, you've got like 10 preparations, and each one individually is as much as you could eat at one time. And so it's way more than you can consume. So that's what I did when I prepared this class. I took all these different subject matters and could have done a week on any one of these little things. See, here we got this anyway, so much. So, if you want it, I can send it to you on PDF, or you can look in Netfolio. Anyway, these are from the 1st and 2nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Do you have a board?
So,
You can write it on the board?
well, I don't have a board. And there's like a bunch of verses here. Bunch of verses. If I'm going to write anything on the board, it's going to be if we have a chance to get to the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd
You can
slokas.
write the questions on the board. 6 questions.
6 questions.
Well, maybe tomorrow. Or we can hand them out. If someone wants to copy them, pretty quick, Find a coffee shop. These are important. Last year at Parktown, I was staying at Premananda Prabhu's place, and we did this for a day for a week. I asked what are the 6 questions of the sages and read them, and after about a week, everybody knew it. I did the same thing in Bangalore with our congregation. And after 3 or 4 weeks, everybody was picking up and knowing the 6 questions. Well, we'll just have to have some greed to hear them. It will build up. So here, we begin. Manishe Vishaktetra Rishaya Samakadaya Satram Swagaya Lokaya Sahastra. Once, in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages, headed by the sage Shaunaka, assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. I explain to you why that sacrifice is being held. Ekada tumunaya pratuhurtuhutagnaya satkritam sutamastinam raprachodidamadarat. One day, after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Sutta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters. So Srila Prabhupada makes some commentary here. And he says that actually morning time is the best time to hold spiritual services. That's why the best class is the morning class. Because people are here, they're attentive, they're eager, and the best time is actually Mangalarti. Srila Prabhupada used to always stress, if you go to ISKCON, everybody goes to Mangalarti, no matter what. You don't go to Mangalarti after a couple of times and throw you out of the temple, withhold your prasadam, all these very severe things. But it works. So even if you're sick, even if you're tired, you somehow get up from Mangalarti. And if you do that, then the rest of the day is good. You're starting off, like they say, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, Mangalarti is the most important part of the day, the beginning, because the Lord is waking up, and those that are wanting to be intimate and dear to the Lord, they want to be there and greet them with beautiful song and beautiful music. So, And we're going to Mangalarti not to see the Lord, but so that the Lord, Radha and Krishna, will see us. And if we're lying in bed snoring, what are they going to think? Where's so-and-so? Oh, he's in bed snoring. Oh, they have no greed, no eagerness. So, Mangalarti. Start the day out right. Mangalarti. So, Sri Vyasadeva is the original preceptor for all men. And all other preceptors are considered to be his representatives. Srila Prabhupada says, a representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. In these series of questions and answers, Srila Prabhupada was going to delineate very firmly the qualification for one who sits on the Vyasa side. Another one who takes the role of real guru, topmost guru. Now, what about the questions? What about the people who ask questions? He says, those who listen to the Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit a clear meaning. But this should not be done in a challenging way. One must submit questions with a great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. This is also the way recommended in Gita. One must learn the transcendental subject by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, these sages address the speaker and Srila Goswami with great respect. It's not that we are not allowed to ask questions. Srila Gurudev would always comment how he would always ask questions to his guru. Because he was, very intelligent, very brilliant mind, and anything that he could not understand or any apparent contradiction or doubt, he would pose. But his guru, some expert, he would always satisfy him with the answer, because his mood also was complete faith in the person he was asking the questions to. I have a doubt, and you please resolve it. And so in this mood, but the speaker has to be such a personality that doubts can be resolved, not through speculation, but through realization. There are many people who can wrangle and expertly try to figure things out, and that's what most of us do. Sometimes when we come up to a complex point of tattva, without realization, we argue it back and forth and try to figure it out. But that is not the same level of answer as someone with realization. And Srila Gurudev would oftentimes, and Srila Prabhupada do the same thing, pose a challenging question, and then we'd argue it back and forth and try to come up with an answer. And then with just a few words from realized position, he would speak, and then everybody's doubt would be removed. All apparent contradictions would be reconciled, because this is the way a realized person speaks. And so in the presence of such a person, we may challenge, but in a submissive way. And Bhagavad Gita says the same thing. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. What does that verse mean? I forget. Tadvidi pranipatena. Something about how to ask questions and what to do. Anybody know? You guys ever read Bhagavad Gita? Verse? 4th chapter, 34th verse. What is the meaning to that one? Let's see, which we have. We should ask Bobadev. He knows all Gita better than anyone. What does that verse mean?
If one wants to understand the truth, we should come to God by spiritual master. Inquire submissively. Surrender. Render service.
Render service.
And self-realized now, soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth.
Self-realized soul is part knowledge because he has seen the truth. So submissive inquiry with honor and service. So now they're going to say, Rishaya Uchu, now the sages are going to speak. Toya Kalupuranani Setihasani Chanaga Akyantapyaditani dharmashastrani yanjuta. The sages said, "O respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and histories as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. For you yourself have heard properly, you have been under the guidance of your gurus, and you have explained them nicely." Explanation, preaching, this is the means towards realization. If you study, but don't teach, don't try to preach, your realization will not be so deep, will not be so thick.
Which verse is this?
This is verse 6 of the first chapter. So Srila Prabhupada says that a Goswami, representative of Krishna, must be free from all vice. And he cites that has to be free from illicit connection between men and women, illicit connection, animal slaughter, intoxication, and speculative gambling of all sorts. That doesn't just mean betting on the horses and rolling dice. Speculative gambling also means mental speculation, because you're gambling with your spiritual future. If you simply use your own intellectual ability to try to figure things out, not hearing from proper sources, you are gambling with your own future. And he said no one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana unless they have spotless character and revealed and also well versed in all revealed scripture. So spotless character. Then regarding the hearer, he says, I'm jumping around. The purports are long. I'm just pulling key points out. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Hearing is called Shravan, and explaining is called Kirtan. The two processes of Shravan and Kirtan are of primary importance for progressive spiritual life. So again, that point he's making, you have to hear and you have to speak. In the old days, I'm going to tell you old day stories. Back in our day, when we were new devotees, we used to do lots of street chanting. This was our primary activity. And the primary means that Srila Prabhupada's mission was spread. However many devotees were in the temple, almost all would go out and chant for many, many hours a day. We would distribute Back to Godhead magazines. And we would chant for 15 to 20 minutes. And in those days, a big crowd would always gather. I did this in New York City, so you can imagine. Every time we chant, there'd be like at least 100 people just standing there. Mouths agape, watching. And then, after about 15 or 20 minutes of chanting, everything would stop. And then someone would step forward and give a speech. Give a speech about the Maha Mantra, give a speech about Krishna, who we are, the Hare Krishna people, whatever. And this was, everybody had to do it. And because we were chanting all day, everybody had a chance. But that meant new people too. So I remember a brand new guy, brand new, old Bhakti John. We weren't even calling ourselves Bhakti yet. Brahmacharya John. You know, we didn't know the word Bhakti yet. And so after 2 or 3 days, when I was almost figuring out how to play cartels, it took me about a week. Kind of slow in that way. Yeah, we had like 4 Johns. I was John 2 or 3. Yeah. So there I became John Harden. So anyway, after 2 or 3 days, all of a sudden, the Sankirtan leader said, give us a speech. I said, what? Give the speech. I said, what speech? How can I give a speech? I don't know anything. Whatever you know, give the speech. I said, whoa. So then I stumbled out there with everybody behind me, and what am I talking about? Well, we're chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. This Hare Krishna mantra and the names of God. If you chant this mantra, it will make you happy. Hare Krishna. That was it. That's all I knew. But that was the beginning. Chant and be happy. That was the beginning. And from there, everybody grew. Some people were being very eloquent, give much nicer speeches. But Srila Prabhupada is saying that you have to hear and speak. That means chanting, but also means preaching. And then you can remember. Then you can remember. Regarding the remembering, I remember the first time that I spoke with Srila Vaikhanas Maharaja. He had come to Bangalore, and we went to see him a little early the evening he was going to speak, and there were about 4 or 5 of us there. And then he turned to me, and he said, "What is the duty of an old man?" Why he was asking me that, I don't know. But he said, "What's the duty of an old man?" I said, "Well, Bhagavatam, the sages, were asking, what is the duty of one? What should one hear, chant, and remember, especially one who's about to die?" So an old man is about to die, or he realizes it's impending. So hearing, chanting, and remembering. And he said, "No." He said, hearing and chanting, this has been going on, you've been hearing a long time. When you become very perfect in your bhajan, then it becomes chanting and remembering. So deeply absorbed in your chanting automatically stimulates internal memory. And this is the platform of one who's truly advanced. This is what he was explaining. And it was very, very interesting. What he was indicating is that don't be content with just mechanical hearing and chanting, that you have to really take this process seriously so that you can come to the stage where your chanting actually stimulates deep remembrance and deep awareness of everything that you've ever heard before. Not "Hey, Prabhu, what's for lunch?" Very deeply meditating. It all begins, though, Srila Prabhupada says, with hearing and chanting. Then they ask another question. Okay, so they just said, you are free from all vice, you know all scripture, you've gone under them under proper guidance. So they're beginning to cite his qualifications. Yani Vedavidam Shreshto Bhagavan Bhadarayana Anye Chamuraya Sutta Bharavada Vido Vido. Being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Sutta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead. And you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. Again, so here's his qualification. You are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, and your associates are also people on that same level, greatly learned, advanced spiritual personalities. And Srila Prabhupada says that there are different philosophical systems. He says Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Patanjali, Jaimini, Ashtavakra. And these are all explained, these different systems of knowledge in the Vedanta Sutra, they're alluded to. And that if one is truly qualified on the Vyasa, then that personality knows all these different systems and fully understands the theistic views of the Bhagavatam, which defeats, and ultimately, of course, reconciles all these other systems, which is what a lot of Prakashatma Prabhu has been explaining, the different understandings and approaches to Vedanta Sutra by these other systems, and how Vedanta Sutra, as explained in the Bhagavatam, actually gives the highest, purest theistic conception. Now, so you know all this, you have great associates, Vedatvam samyatat sarvam tatvatastad anugrahat Guruya snigdasya sashyasya Guravo goyamapyuta. This is a very important verse. It's a very important one.
Which slope is that, Maharaj?
Huh?
Which slope now?
This is 8. 8. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. There's a few words in this verse when he says, Bruya snigdasya shishyasya. Snigdasya, Srila Prabhupada here translates that of one who is submissive. Shishyasya means disciple. But we also know another meaning for snigdasya. It means one who's imbued with the affection. Snigdha. So the relationship, Gurudev always said, between disciple and guru should be one of this deeply abiding snigdha. This is where one enters into that status that Gurudev describes as Vishram Veda Seva. This is our desire, that we become so closely allied with our Guru in spirit, in mood, that there's no separation between his desire and our desire. What Gurudev was saying this morning in the lecture, where he was saying Ishwar Puri was completely surrendered to the desires and service needs of his Guru. And therefore, he wasn't manifesting, he had great knowledge, great renunciation. He was feeling very humble and unqualified in every way. But his qualification was his complete absorption and surrender, emptying himself of everything but the desire of his Guru. And therefore, he became qualified to serve in the most intimate way. Not just physically. We know that he performed all the intimate services, taking care of the body of his Guru in his advanced sickness pastimes. But more than that, because many people can act in the mood of a nurse, but more than that, he understood the inner moods of his Guru. So when Ramachandra Puri was trying to console Madhavendra Puri by saying, why are you lamenting? Just meditate upon Brahman, the impersonal absolute. This was completely objectionable and horrible thing to hear from Madhavendra Puri, so deeply absorbed in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. But Ishwar Puri was able to speak to the inner moods of his Guru, his inner sentiments, just like Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy were able to soothe Mahaprabhu by speaking and to his inner moods and pacifying him in that way with different shlokas and different statements from 10th Canto and other confidential works. So real disciple goes very, very deep. So externally, or preliminarily, the mood is submission. And submission means complete surrender to anything but the desire of my Guru. But the deeper meaning of that is absorption and realization. So he's saying here, Guyam, Guravo Guyam Apyuta. Your gurus have endowed you with the secrets. Apyuta, you've been endowed with the secrets of their confidential seva. So this is Vedatvam Samyatat Sarvam Tatvatastad Anugrahat Bruya Snigdasya Shishyasya Guravo Guyam Apyuta. This is what we aspire for. Very, very high. Very, very high. This is something Gurudev always spoke to, didn't he? Always. So then they're going to get into the first of the questions. I'm just going to read it because it's important in the sequence, but the other 5 questions I'm going to skip and get back to until we have gone through this whole exchange between gurus and disciples. So they say, so you've understood all the Vedas, you're perfectly qualified, you are a perfect disciple, you are in the association of other similarly qualified people, you've been endowed with all the most secrets and realizations. So therefore, tatra tratram jishayusman bhavata yad vinishchitam pumsam etam tatakshoras tam nak samsitamarhasi. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. This is probably the key question in all the Bhagavatam. This and one more related to it, which we'll get to later. Being blessed with many years means being fully realized. And so, tell us in an easily understandable way, because this is the age of Kali. We're endowed with less intelligence, or unfortunately. Manda sumanda mantayo, manda bhaji vipatavita. They would also quote that one a lot about the people in the age of Kali. That we have short lives. We're always agitated, we're always disturbed, we're unlucky, less intelligent. And so we don't have the time, the discipline, or the intelligence to deeply pursue studies of the Vedas. So explain it in a simple way, what you have ascertained to be the ultimate and absolute good for people in general. And then they say, at the end of the chapter, the other questions will be sandwiched in. From that sandashito datra, dustaram nishtirsitam, kalim sarvaharam kumsam karna dharna ivarnavam. This is a very glorious verse. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Without a good captain, you may even have a boat. You may have a good boat. But if you don't have a good captain, you'll be able to cross, because the ocean is a dangerous place, full of wicked currents, big waves, unpredictable winds, storms, giant animals, giant fish, so many obstacles. But an expert captain can see that ship through. So they are saying now, we have met you. This is a very beautiful way to envision Sri Guru, because a captain is a very bold and heroic figure standing on the forecastle, giving direction. You know, pull the mainsail, avast, I don't know all these terms, throughout all the different circumstances, overcoming pirates, overcoming storms, the captain is always there, cool-headed and knowledgeable. And Guru is like that. He can get that ship past any obstacle. So now, Sutta Goswami is going to respond. And he first responds by offering his own respects to his own gurus. And again, in the study of the Bhagavatam, where first, we have to be in the proper mood of students, but then we have to acknowledge our debt to the original speakers and to our guru. And he's saying, and this is a verse that Gurudev would always quote in his Mangalacharya. Sometimes he would vary it a little bit, but this is one that was very often repeated by him. Yam pravajantam manaveta apeta krityam. Do you ever wonder what it means? You always hear that spoken before class. You ever wonder what it means? Vapaya no viraha katara ajuhava putre vitam maipaya kanabhovinedus tam savavurkam vinayatu vimanatosmi. Srila Sutta Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage Shukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life without leaving home, without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread, or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father Vyasadeva, feeling separation from him, cried out, "Oh, my son!" Indeed, only the trees, which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation, echoed in response to the bereaved father. Beautiful verse. I was just going to read it, just make a few points about the verse. First of all, Shukadeva Goswami is recognized as one who can enter into the hearts of all. Tam Sarvabhuta Hridayam. He is able to enter the hearts of all, because Guru is like the all-pervading Paramatma. He is the external representation. He is at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. And therefore, as Krishna can enter the hearts of all, Sri Guru can go with him. He sees everything. One thing, the greatest mistake you could ever make, being in the presence of real Guru, is trying to hide anything from them, or be at all deceitful in their presence. You have to realize that Guru can see everything. And there's no sense trying, just like a child, they try to lie to their parents, but it doesn't work because the parents know them so well, like a little child. Did you do this? No! Did you eat that cupcake with, chocolate and cupcake all over their face? No! Guru can see everything. Gurudev would say, I can see 10,000 lifetimes back and even more ahead. And because they know the inner heart. They are the external representation of Super Soul. As Krishna knows everything, Guru knows everything. So the proper mood of Guru is not to hide the anartha, the fall, but to openly reveal it. And then Guru becomes merciful and will help you to overcome it. But if you try to be deceitful and cover it, then Guru will not help. I remember when I was struggling to try to surrender and come to Gurudev. And like so many people living outside, and having been away from devotional activity for so long, many, many different struggles. And then one time, we were in Badger, because that was the place I would see Gurudev. I didn't go on these big worldwide tours like so many other people, but we get to see him every year in Badger. And in the back of the house is a parking lot, and cars are there. And for some reason, I was doing a little chanting, and I went back there, and Gurudev was there all alone. It was just me, he was walking towards me. And up until coming to Badger, I'd had some struggles. And he just looked at me from a little distance, maybe from where I was to where Padmanabha is. And he looked at me with this all-piercing look, but very compassionate. And I knew not to try to hide anything. And I just, kind of internally did one of these. Here's my heart. And Gurudev walked over to me in a very kindly way. And he said, you cannot go on like this. You cannot go on like this. And he didn't say much more than that. But his words were so filled with compassion, it was so inspirational that he wasn't like just chastising and beating. I could tell that all he wanted was my welfare and goodness. And he expressed that in such a loving way. Sometimes Guru will smash. Sometimes he'll beat you down, and sometimes he'll give you a very soft and gentle kind of instruction. But whatever you get, it will only be if you're open. You'll only get the benefit if you're open. But that single moment was incredibly transformable, because it wasn't much longer after that I made the determination, I'm giving it all up, I'm moving to India. But I think that if I had tried to hide this and cover it up with all Guru, then I don't think I would have got that same mercy. I don't think I would have. Because you have to realize, is in the hearts from Sarvabhuta Hridayam. And When he went away to take up the renounced order, he didn't take up sannyas. He walked away and just gave up everything. Why did he do that? Because he was qualified. He had no need for sacred thread. He emerged from the womb in Leela on the Brahman level, completely detached. Actually, he stayed in the womb for 16 years. He didn't want to come out because, oh, the Kali Yuga has begun. What do I want to be out there? There'll be some danger. Why should I come out? I'm safe from all the influence in the womb. But it was time for him to come out. He had a mission, so Krishna said, I will reverse the Kali Yuga a little bit. You come out now. So he came out, and as soon as he came out, he left. His father ran after him. Was his father attached like an ordinary householder father? Oh, my son, oh, my son. Was he crying out in that mood? No. He was crying out in a different way. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one reason was, of course, he wanted to speak the Bhagavatam to him because it was his mission to share that with the world. But the other reason is that Shukadeva Goswami, as a great Paramahamsa, was automatically dear to all souls. Everyone had great affection, and Vyasadeva was attracted to him on that level, on that transcendental level. This great, great Paramahamsa. And so his grief and that impending separation was that. And the trees echoing, Vishwanath Chakravarti, I always wondered about that for you. What does it mean the trees were echoing? The response, were they mocking the Father? What were they doing? No. They were sharing that same mood because even the trees were afflicted by great attachment, or affected by great attachment to Shukadeva Goswami. Because he was so great a Paramahamsa, they also had that same feeling of affection. And anybody who's been in the presence of a pure devotee knows how a pure devotee inspires that mood. Srila Gurudev inspired that in everybody. Wherever he went, all over the world, people immediately attached an affection to him because he was so affectionate and giving to them. Srila Prabhupada, the exact same way. And he could control by their affection. They had so much love, you automatically wanted to do whatever it was that they wanted. So Vyasadeva is aggrieved because he wants to speak the Bhagavatam to his son, and his son is departed. So he gives another praise. Yam Svanubhavam Akila Shuktisaramekam Admatadipam Atitishatam Kamandam Samsariram Karanaya Purana Guyam Tam Vyasasunam Upayami Gurum Muninam. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. Again, he's stating his acknowledgement to Shukadeva Goswami. And then he says, and this is the verse we would always recite, Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devam sarasvatam vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting this Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. This is Divya Saraswati, transcendental goddess of learning, who inspired and spoke on the tongue of Lord Brahma, and unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author.
Devim Saraswati, not Devim.
What is that?
Devim.
Did I say Devam? It says
Devim Saraswati Vyasa.
Yeah.
Devim.
Yeah, Devam.
You said Devam.
I said Devam? I always mispronounce. But this beautiful Bhagavatam, even if it perfectly heard, chanted or recited will give great pleasure to the hearts of the swan-like Paramahamsas. Srila Prabhupada says that Sri Sutta Goswami shows the way of chanting the Puranas. This may be followed by persons who aspire to be preachers of the Vedic literature and the Puranas. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana, and it is especially meant for those who desire to get out of the material entanglement permanently. Now, Sutta Goswami gives his last statement of address before reciting and giving answers, and he says, you've asked all these questions, Muraya Sadakrishtoam Bhavadvir Lokkamangalam Yad Krita Krishna Samprashno Yen Atma Suprasidati. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are completely capable of satisfying the self. So, Gurudev would always say, who is the self? Who is that Atma? Sometimes we think, only satisfying ourselves. But actually, it means completely capable of satisfying Paramatma, Krishna within the heart. And when Paramatma is pleased, then we are also pleased. So the whole intent is that by linking and satisfying Krishna, we will also become pleased. And this Bhagavatam is the answer to these topmost questions, and therefore it exceeds all other Vedic literature. In the first 3 verses, it will be explained what the real glory of the Bhagavatam is, and how Nigamakalpataror Galitam Palam Shuka Mukad Amrita Javasamyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasikabu Vibhamukaha. That this Bhagavatam is actually the topmost fruit of the tree of Vedic literature. Topmost fruit. And having been tasted by the parrot, Shukadeva Goswami, it becomes even more relishable and handed down from the top of the tree to us, we can also relish it. Yes.
Because you just quoted Narayanam Naranchava.
What?
Narayanam Naranchava.
Yeah. Narayanam Namaskaritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Yeah.
Yes. I heard that Narayan and Shiva Vyasadeva are the same person, but according to this verse, they're two different. Can you explain?
Shiva Vyasadeva is a direct incarnation of Krishna himself. Sometimes Vyasadeva is a Shakti Avesh avatar and a power jiva, but in this time he is Lord Narayan himself. So in that sense he is also non-different.
Who's Narayan?
Narayan is the twin expansion of Narayan and a special jiva soul who perform austerities in the Himalayas. Sometimes it's said it's Krishna and Arjuna, eternally related, and practice the path of deep austerity and meditation for the welfare of all of us. One of Krishna's many different incarnations appearing along with a special soul, jiva soul. Is that correct? And then Srila Prabhupada says something really interesting. He said, the whole world is full of questions and answers. I've been justly questioned by you. And this is something you can tell people. Like if you're going around and you're working a book table or trying to preach to people on the street, everybody has questions and answers. The birds and the beasts and man are all busy in the matter of perpetual questions and answers. In the morning, the birds in the nest become busy with questions and answers. Sure? Yeah. Chip, chip, chip. Where's the worm? Hey, where's my food? Did you bring it yet? Hey, where are you going? Who's going to take care of the babies? Oh, you stay and I'll go and look for some food. Chip, chip, chip. Questions and answers. See that cat? No, I think we're safe. So In the morning, the birds in the nest become busy with questions and answers, and in the evening also the same birds come back and again become busy with questions and answers. The human being, unless he is fast asleep at night, is busy with questions and answers. And as soon as you wake up, hey, what's on Yahoo? What's Facebook got to say? What's the news? What's the sports? You know? Do you ever feel compelled like that? You know, I gotta find out the news. Who won the election? Who won the cricket match? You know, whatever it is. You know, it's always questions and answers. Because this is the nature of the soul. The internal quality of the soul is chid. It has this aspiration for knowledge. But that aspiration is imperfectly directed towards the material energy. And so the Bhagavatam is redirecting it towards the natural aspiration of the soul. He says, legislators in parliament busy with questions and answers, the businessmen in the market, you know, the guys at the stock market, what's the price of oil? What's the price of pork bellies? You know, they just, what's the Dow Jones doing? They're all questioning and answering. What's the president thinking? Anyway, they make these questions and answers their whole lives, and they're not satisfied. Satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. Krishna is the most intimate friend, father, son, or object of conjugal love. And so forgetting Krishna, we've created so many objects of questions and answers. But none of them are able to give us complete satisfaction. This is how you talk to people. You're curious, you're always seeking. But no matter how far we seek, we're never satisfied. But if you seek knowledge and relationship with God, this will go deep to your heart, deep to your actual eternal nature. And this will give you true satisfaction. This is the kernel, the essence of our philosophy, the purpose of the Bhagavatam. We cannot live for a moment without being questioned or without giving answers. And because the Bhagavatam deals with questions and answers that are related to Krishna, we can derive the highest satisfaction only by reading and hearing this transcendental literature. So I have been justly questioned by you. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. So they did give 6 specific questions, which we have a few minutes and we can read them. So we read one of them already. I'll begin again. 6 questions.
Can you give the verses?
Yep. 119. Tatra tratram jasajusman bhakayam virishchitam rumsamikam tatakshayastam raksangshitamarhasi. Please, therefore being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Because remember, they're doing this yajna for the people in general. They're trying to check the pernicious effects of the age of Kali. If they could see how degraded this age is going to become, and they realize all the horrible things that have been unimaginable just, 100 years before, or even a few decades before, now is coming to pass. And if you read in the 12th canto how quickly Kali Yuga takes effect, it's frightening. It must have been frightening for them to see in their vision, to see the complete degradation of the Brahminical class, the ascension of the Shudra and less than Shudra class to the role of Kshatriyas and rulers of the world. Everything was becoming so frightening for them. The people in this age of Kali, they're very unqualified. Give us an understandable way what you've ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Next question. 11. Verse 11. Puri Puri Kamani Shokuvyani Vibhagasa Ataksadho Triyatsala Samadrita Manishaya Puri Bhadraya Bhutanam Yenat Musam Prasidati. There are many varieties of scripture, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied. Okay, so not only do we want you to tell us, but we want you to tell us, hey, Sean, I didn't see you come in. You tell us on the basis of the scripture, because we are all assembled sages. We are expert in all these different divisions, but we're confused. What is the essence? So you please tell us, because we studied them all. Remember, they've given the qualification. You've heard from your spiritual masters. You've served them very submissively. They've given you all the secret information. So please tell us the essence of these scriptures. And this will fully satisfy all these living beings. So then, third question, verse 12. Sutajanasi bhadram te bhagavan sattvatam prati devakam vasudevasya jato jasya chikishaya. All blessings unto you, O Sutta Goswami. You know for what purpose the personality of God had appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva. So we know Krishna, the Supreme Lord, descended. These sages, they know this. This is very recent. But what was the purpose? This very mysterious Krishna's pastimes. What was his ultimate intent? Reveal this to us. Reveal this. And the mystery. Krishna appearing in the womb of his devotee. There's so many mysteries there because Krishna, he doesn't need to do this. He could just manifest himself directly or descend from Vaikuntha. Why these human-like pastimes? What is the meaning of all this? Then, fourth question, which is verse 17. Tasya kamanya dharani parihitani surabhi bruhina shagadananam lilaya dadadata kala. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narad sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. Now in his own purport and in the purport of Sri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, they say that this verse relates to the pastimes of Krishna directly, who has all the avatars within him. They're acknowledging Krishna as avatari. There are many avatars, but Krishna is avatari. So this verse means, please tell us the pastimes of avatari Krishna. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious. And great sages like Narad sing of them. So tell us about these. Then the next question, which immediately follows, is about the various avatars. Atyakyahi hare bhimam avatarikatashtrubha lila vidadatasvaram ishvarasyatma mayaya. O wise Sutta, please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord's multi-incarnations. Such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by his internal powers. So tell us the activities, and Bhagavatam will do that. It will give a summary in the third chapter of some of the principal incarnations, and then throughout the developing chapters, some of the prominent incarnations are described. And not only the incarnations, but the secret of Bhagavatam also is the activities of the devotees. Because certainly the Bhagavatam teaches about Krishna's incarnations, but it's also teaching about the process of Bhakti. And Bhakti is exemplified in the actions of the various devotees of the Lord. So along with all the different incarnations, we learn about how those different incarnations are served by their various devotees. And thus we begin to understand the gradual evolution of the theistic conception. So then...
Which slope was that, Mark?
that was 18. And then the sixth question, which is 23. Guruhi Yogeshware Krishna Brahmane Dharma Varmani Samkamamurapete Dharmakam Sharanam Gita. Now, since Krishna, Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, had departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. And this may be the most important question in terms of introducing the Bhagavatam, because now that Krishna's left, Krishna himself comes to Paritrayanaya Sadhunam Dinasaya Chadushkatam Dharma Samstarpanarthaya Sambhavani Yuge Yuge, to annihilate demons, to uplift, to protect the devotees, to establish principles of religion. Krishna comes millennium after millennium. Now he's left. Kali Yuga is coming. Where do we take shelter? Where have those religious principles taken shelter now? And that, all these answers will begin to be given in the second chapter, some in the third, and of course, I'll just recount the questions one by one. So, the first and second questions are similar. Explain in an easily understandable way the ultimate and absolute good for the people in general. That's one. There are many varieties of scriptures, many different directions. Please take the essence of all these scriptures and explain it so that all the living beings' hearts might be satisfied. Okay. That's very similar. And that will be answered in the same verse. But it will be answered many times. All these questions will be answered many times.
So the first one is, what is the ultimate good, absolute good?
Yes.
The second one is, how can everyone's heart be fully satisfied? Yea, not must supersede.
And also dispel all the confusion about the different apparently opposing diverse views of the scriptures. Because especially in the more esoteric versions of Upanishads and even Vedanta Sutra, there's the impersonal conception is hinted at, and it's very obscure and difficult to perceive, even though it's there, about the personality of Godhead. And in the Puranas, there are so many different instructions. Oh, you should worship this demigod or that demigod. Lord Shiva is supreme. Even Indra, perform karma kanda. Different kinds of instructions are there, which can be very confusing, especially to a heart of a soul who's already inclined towards materialistic activities in the beginning. So if we're already inclined in that way, it's very difficult to change that inclination towards something higher, if there seems to be a hint to support that which I'm already inclined to.
So can you narrow that down to one sentence, the second question?
The second question is, what's the essence of all Scripture?
By which
people's hearts may be satisfied.
Sadhu, Shastra, and now comes Krishna.
Dispel our confusion about the injunctions, the ultimate direction and instruction of the Scripture. So, what's the highest duty for all people, and where can I find that established in the Scripture? Then, third one is, you know why Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki. Fourth one is, please explain the activities of Krishna himself, Avatari. Fifth one, please explain things about all of his different avatars. And sixth one, where have religious principles now gone for shelter? These 6 questions. And all of this, oops, we ended at 8:30? Okay. Anyway, there are 10 subjects of the Bhagavatam, which you, Sridhar Maharaj, have spoken to a little bit the other day. And the Bhagavatam itself is founded on the basis of 4 root shlokas. I'm going to read these tomorrow and then give a summary of the first 3 verses, which is the whole Bhagavatam, an overview of the whole Bhagavatam as well. It was a little intimidating. I've been looking at it for a few days because the first 3 verses alone, looking at Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, along with Srila Prabhupada's, I copied Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's 42 pages with just these 3 verses. And more than half of it is just the first verse alone. But Gurudev presented these in a very succinct and simple way for us in Badger in 1999. So I'm going to find a middle ground and not get into all the details. The details, though, if you do want to read this commentary, it goes along really good with what Prakasatma has been explaining. And there are all these verses from the Upanishads and others cross-referencing the verses of the Vedanta Sutra, the first 5 verses particularly, which establish the theistic conclusions of the Bhagavatam with cross-references to these other verses. So it's really, really good. Anyway, we'll stop here.
Just one little quick observation. That, whenever Gurudev was traveling, and then he would begin Bhagavatam in his festivals, it was interesting to see that he would very, very briefly describe the sages in the forest, then how they elect Sonakalishi and Sutta Goswami. They begin to ask questions. But what he actually targeted almost every single time was the second question. Yenatma supersedity. And because he didn't want to go elaborately and tell all the 6 questions and everything, then he would immediately jump to the answer in the second chapter that Sutta Goswami gave, Savai Pumsam Parodharma, Yenatma supersedity. So Gurudev, like this Atma supersedity, how the Atma can be fully satisfied, not partially, but all fully satisfied. That was the basis of his presentation of Bhagavatam.
And if you had more time, perhaps go into that second chapter in a little more detail, because the second chapter, after that verse, describes the process of bhakti and its progression, like Rupa Goswami gives the different stages that we go through in bhakti, from faith to bhav. And Bhagavatam also gives that. It goes through the initial connection with Sri Guru, submissive service to Guru, the attachment for the process of hearing from Guru, and then the gradual process of Anartanaviti and Nishta, and then development of Ruchi, and then into Bhav. And then coming to the platform of purification to the material mode of goodness, and then the transcendental platform of Shuddha Sattva. All that's in the second chapter. And then direct perception of the Lord face to face, which is the perfection, which is described in detail in the lives of the devotees. But that's all in the second chapter. It's a very beautiful study to make. If you want to know all of our philosophy, if you read the first and second chapters of the Bhagavatam, everything is there. And every verse that you will need to explain it is also there. And many of these verses, maybe if we have time, we'll do that instead, I'm not sure. You can use them, and I've heard Gurudev quote so many of them and encourage others to quote them as well in classes. Anyway, we'll stop here. So we have the 4 central verses of the Bhagavatam. Also, I included the 4 essential verses of the Bhagavad Gita. It's kind of an appendix to it. So, all glories to Sri Gurudev, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Now we do Guru Puja. And pray for the same mood that the sages of Naimisharanya had to Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami had to Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami had to Veda Vyas. Veda Vyas had to Sri Narad Muni. Sri Narad Muni had to Lord Brahma.